Good evening, friends. How's everyone tonight?
Good.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy anniversary, Candy. A day late.
Thank
Yes.
you. You know, we're on that 7-year itch now.
Uh-oh.
You know, that illustrious 7 years, but it's all been good. It's all been good. My husband hasn't been feeling the greatest, so we're kind of working through that, but he'll be back to him normal self, you know. Motor City Mad Mouth, he never stops, right?
No, I'm pretty sure that is a definite no.
I don't think Scott will stop, including when he's dead.
He'll have too much to still cover.
Right?
And he's really excited, but we'll get into the reasons why later on when we talk a little.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Miss Jen, yours?
Pretty good. We were able to work from home last week, and so going back into the office today was not as rough as I thought. However, I've got to leave really early tomorrow because school goes back. So traffic will be hell. But
Absolutely. Well, mine was mainly uneventful. It was nice and quiet. I mean, when you are saving for a trip, you don't do a whole lot. You kind of keep it low key so your pockets will be still full when you're on your trip. So we stayed home, laughed and giggled and enjoyed ourselves. And I think that's pretty much what you want to do anyway, is just have
exactly.
peaceful and fun times. So
my question, ladies, you've been to the grocery store lately. Can you get out of there? Like, I used to be able to get out of there at the grocery store for like $100. Now it's like 200. I'm like, what? Oh my gosh.
Only Audis.
I walk in the door and Walmart goes, okay, there's a $200 withdrawal. Now we'll see if you need anything else. If we need more, and you're like, okay.
Exactly.
Here's my money. Here's my money. So we're going to talk. I'm sorry, Jen, did I interrupt? Or are we ready to?
No, I was just going to go ahead. I'm paying attention. I'm just trying to get the comments turned on.
Oh, fantastic. We are going to start off with our week 17 recap. We've had some seeds, number one seed solidify. We've had some people exit stage left. We have some interesting storylines that all kinds actually that have come out of this week 17. Candy, do you want to start off with some of yours?
Well, let's see. For all of those Jordan Love haters at the beginning of the season that didn't want to stick with him, he has thrown over 30 touchdowns this year, which is more than any Chicago Bear quarterback in their history. Yes. Anyways, but the Packers are looking better and better. They're starting to really, I think, gel. The offense is starting to move the ball. Our defense actually looked pretty good, which is surprising because everybody wants Joe Barry's head, but I think we still do. But they're looking a lot better than they were. They actually can make the playoffs if they win this week against their oldest rival. It's the oldest rivalry in the NFL, the Bears-Packers. It is
interesting.
Yes, it is in Lambeau, so that gives us an edge. But the Bears have been playing a lot better as of late, so it's never a give me. Last year, the Lions took us out. We needed to win to get into the playoffs, and we lost to the Lions on the last game of the season. So there is another scenario where we get in, even if we lose. But it's like, oh, this team's got to lose, and this team's got to lose, and this team, and it's like
they can't sneeze more than 3 times on the 50-yard line, and yeah. That's where you're like, it's a wish and a prayer at that point, I feel like.
But I was really surprised how well. I mean, we won 33-10 over the Vikings, and the Vikings are in the same spot as us. They were tied. You know, they were ahead of us in the division. It was both of us need really to win to get in, and they really kind of laid an egg. And I was, I don't know how many Minnesota Viking games you guys have watched, especially at Minnesota, because if you are not a fan of Minnesota, you hate the foghorn, the skull, and that loud horn. I mean, it's just awful. I can't stand it. So I'm glad they couldn't play it as often as they like to. So, but on the other note, let's face it, I cover the Jaguars and talk about them from time to time. They actually I won't steal the thunder because this is really against Jen's team. So I'll stop.
No, it's okay. Go for it.
No, that's okay. I'll go to Miami. Miami got their butts kicked in the Baltimore did that. So now they come this Sunday will be a big game for them. It's the game of the week. It's Sunday night. It's for the division. It's them against Buffalo at Miami.
It's a shame it isn't in Buffalo. I feel like Miami has looked really good on paper, but they've kind of come across as a fraud. But that's my personal opinion.
I mean, Miami's probably had the best season they've had since Dan Marino. They
do. But I think that Tua is still afraid of being tackled.
Well,
and so
I would be too if I were home.
It should be. And the whole learning to fall is one thing. But when he's lined up across someone that is coming after him, Chris Jones, Garrett, all of these different, I'm just thinking of all these different players that they're going to be coming up against. Yeah, he gets scared. I mean, I really do. And I don't blame him. I would be frightened if I saw those men coming at me too. But I think that's a problem still. I'm glad he's made it through the season. But I think that there's still there's trauma still behind that whole getting tackled thing.
Well, I mean, obviously, because I fear Bryce Young with our current O-line if we don't get some help for him.
That's why Aaron Rodgers didn't come back. Jets don't have an O-line to protect him.
Yeah. Well, plus, Candy, you're not going to get mad at me if I say this. Aaron was probably somewhat carcinogenic in the Packers locker room because look how that pretty much same O-line is protecting Jordan Love. I mean,
accurate.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it take place. Like I won't say any names, but I've seen some of the Panthers who I know for a fact have protected the crap out of quarterbacks. But I think when we were playing the Ravens last year, I won't say which quarterback or which player, but I noticed this one particular player always protects his side. Baker got sacked like 2 or 3 times on this particular player's side during that game. I think Baker may have pissed off somebody. That's pretty hard to rattle. But on the other hand, Baker is having an amazing year this year.
He is.
I mean, so honestly, in our chat last night when we were talking about NIL, and you were like, well, what if this happened and blah, blah, blah with the Panthers? And I'm like, yeah, Carrie, I didn't say this, but I was thinking it. I was like, right now, I'm fine with us just forfeiting this game and letting the Bucks win the NFC South. And I never thought
valid. Yes, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. We'll get to that.
There is now a rumor or a petition, and no, I did not start it, but there is a petition now to get rid of David Tepper as our team owner.
Do you need me to sign it? I mean, not that I would, but if you do need me, send me the link.
I mean, you can.
I mean, Ryder throws drinks at maybe fans, maybe not fans, but throws drinks at a game. Like, come on, really?
So here's the one defense. I don't think he was throwing that drink at anyone in particular because it happened right after Bryce threw the interception, right? So I think he was frustrated and threw his drink, and I think it was just an instantaneous reaction. I'm not saying it's right. It's very low class, very trashy. So are the brass balls above his desk.
Well, I was going to say, you're right. It probably wasn't intentionally at somebody, but the optics are much worse than what the actual event was. And that's where, as a true fan of your organization, you have to be very frustrated that the owner is pulling this kind of press for you in a season that you don't have a lot of. things to hang your hat on, no stars to kind of say, oh, but there was this moment, and he chooses to
Do that.
bring even more bad press.
Yeah.
As a fan of the game, not even of the Panthers,
Exactly,
but as
the
a fan
game.
of the NFL and trying to mold our young kids, what does that show them? I mean, we talk about society and we talk about like these guys that have raps that, that are already doing bad things outside of football. Now you are on tape inside a football game and you're the owner. You should be setting a precedent. I mean, I don't know how many of you watched the Green Bay game. I don't know how many of you saw after the game. Did you guys see the punch that was thrown at Aaron Jones after the game when they were going to do high fives at the end of the game when teams talk to each other right before that? Someone threw a punch. One of the Minnesota Vikings threw a punch at him. But yet we're all looking at this Tepper. And I'm like, okay, well, I haven't heard anything yet. And I still haven't
What
heard
about
anything.
Well, I think it's also
Jamar Chase that was throwing punches at everyone, including near a ref's head?
Mm-hmm.
well, and I think Tepper's going to get the news story on this because we're used to football players being passionate before, during, and after game, right?
Right.
So again, it doesn't excuse the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little, I've said it all along. I think Tepper is personally probably a little too invested. I've
would
been
agree with that.
saying that like yesterday after this happened, I feel bad for the Carolina Panthers fans. You went from one bad owner to another. Okay, I'll say this. Jerry Richardson at least asked permission and he never forced himself on anyone. There was never any cameras found. It was weird. It was skeezy, but he asked permission and he never forced himself on anybody. And as soon as it started to come out to light, what did he do? He sold the team because he didn't want it to tarnish the team.
Which, you have to, that in itself speaks volumes a lot larger than what
Mhm.
we've seen with Snyder or Tepper.
Yep. Or Jerry Jones too. Sorry, Megan, love you.
Oh, there's that too. So other than you wouldn't be upset about throwing the season and just calling a forfeit and quitting.
I mean, let's just
I'm joking because
no, like honestly, the Bucks don't bother me. They've never really bothered me. I feel like our fan bases are very similar and that we like just respect each other and the organizations because, Tepper's a hothead. I get that, but I don't think Tepper would ever allow anything untoward to go on. The same with the ownership of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I can respect that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean, and there's so many teams that are just run with integrity. That's why when a team is run, with malicious intent or with untoward
with
behavior.
misplaced passion.
Yeah.
I think it's misplaced passion.
And so
Would
it
be
just,
a best.
yeah. And I would say that like, that's why those teams in particular get more flack. That's just me. But I mean, Tepper's he's got to grow up. But it's funny because Scott Fitterer is just standing there with his hands in his pockets. But yeah, so Dallas Lions game.
Controversial call at the end. What do we
Very.
think?
I actually am inclined to believe Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell explained the situation to the refs before the game. And I think the one player did go up and say, report, which is all you have to do because there's video of him going up to the ref. So
Well, I also saw someone else say that you don't want to show all your cards when you're reporting either, necessarily. So he didn't go up and yell big like that, and they weren't trying to draw a big attention to it. But at the same time, he's standing right there in front of the man. Good Lord.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
I feel bad that one call from the officials and how they couldn't go back, they couldn't review it, they couldn't do anything. that it cost them the game.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that. I mean, yes, they still had the ball. They could have kicked a field goal to tie it. They had their chances. They had their chances earlier when it was 4th down earlier in the first half, and they decided not to kick a field goal again and try and go for it. And they didn't make it that time. Didn't make it. Dan Campbell is a gambler, and he believes in his team. So I think at that point he needed to keep going for it because he wanted to show his team that he really backs them and believes in them and believes that they could get the first down. And so when people are saying that he should have kicked the field goal and that they should have done that, that's not who he has been. If you've watched his games, he is the gambler. He is the one that he does it more times than any other team in the league.
Yeah, he does.
Well,
And it's just sad that
absolutely.
You know,
the one thing that I will say, regardless, and you've heard me say this too, when Chiefs have lost, which, by the way, the Green Bay game against the Chiefs were called by the same officiating crew. Should I be shocked? Not really.
So was it the same officiating crew that called the Green Bay Panthers game?
I don't know. I didn't get farther enough. I'll be honest. I stopped with the Kansas City. And I'm like, well, okay. But as I have said, in any time that we have lost, and there was maybe a call that was not one way or the other, we had 59 minutes to win the game.
Yep.
So if you wait to the last minute to win the game, you are leaving it up to somebody else's decisions. It is not easy as a fan, and it's not easy when we're armchair quarterbacks sitting here watching, and we see everything, and we have the ability to rewind, we have the ability to watch the replays and all this, where they're doing something live. I don't know. I feel like it does have. It looks bad, but it cannot be replayed. It cannot be overturned because we do not know what would have happened had they scored and Dallas had the ball back with that allotment of time. And I think they had 1 or 2 timeouts. So there was a way that they could get progression down the field.
Yep.
We don't know. So that is forever going to be a question.
Right.
So I don't think you can overturn a game because even though you have there's something in the law, rules and laws and wish buckets or whatever that they can. There's ways that Goodell could. That opens a huge Pandora's box that will never, ever get closed again.
And here's the thing with sports gambling being so abundant now, and my husband actually made this point, you can't overcall that. You can't because all the money's already been cashed out. It's already been taken in, all of that.
Right. Right.
Now, what did we think? Was anybody really surprised about the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets? Browns 37, Jets 20?
Nope.
I was surprised they scored as many. The Browns have an impressive defense. The Jets have an impressive defense, but that's all they have is defense.
Well,
and Joe Flacco is showing the league that he's not done yet. And I'm all about watching that. That's kind of fun to watch.
Well, and let's face it, he gets paid what, $75,000 for every win, and he has a very incentive-laden contract. Like he gets paid so much if they win, if they win the division, he gets paid so much for every playoff win, for each win. So I really like the way that contract is set up because that really helps. I mean, yes, he can't control it completely, but I like the fact that he controls some of it, and that he gets paid by incentives because let's face it, if you just get guaranteed money, you get it no matter what.
How much, ironically, like 58, 52 or over 50% of Cleveland's guaranteed money is on IR.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting?
Very.
I just have one thing to say. Jamar Chase, when you're going to run your mouth, make sure you can put the stats behind it to stand up for what you're doing. 3 catches for 41 yards, and you said you don't know the Chiefs' defense? Grow up be a man and admit that you have egg on your face. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for coming to my TED Talk.
So I will also congratulate David Tepper and the Carolina Panthers front office and breaking another record for us. That is the first game that we were blown out in since 2002.
Not a record that you necessarily want, my friend.
There's a lot of records in the last 5 years that I don't want.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously, the New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Bucks. I was actually kind of surprised that the Saints upset the Bucks, but I do think that the Saints actually own that rivalry. Because they went a lot against the Bucks, but there's a lot of disdain between those two teams.
Right. I'm always going to root against whatever team that broke down recalled cars on. So
yeah. Well, then Buffalo Bills and New England Patriots. I'm kind of surprised that the Patriots had it as close as they did. But Patriots safety Kyle Duggar led New England Sunday with 7 solo tackles and added a pass breakup and a QB hit. Josh Allen was sacked once during that game. Poor Bryce. And then anybody have any commentary or anything about that? I was kind of surprised the Pats kept it that close, to be honest with you.
very close. Another interesting thing, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are the only 2 quarterbacks that have started every game since 2021.
That's interesting. Nice stat there, Missy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I do like Josh Allen. So, I mean, that would have caught my eye with him. But yeah, I think it's pretty neat. I have an affinity. I just like Josh because he is actually a farm kid.
Mm-hmm.
And those are always going to have a soft spot in my heart. But yeah. But he's one that I thought that was going to be able to bring something to bring home the trophy for the Bills. And I hope that their window is not closing down. I hope they give him some people. And then
Stefan is just a little carcinogenic in that locker room, though, because he
Just
seems
a
like a
little?
split child.
just a little.
Candy,
What?
what do you think?
Just a little?
Just a
Are you
little.
kidding me? Just a little. Mm-hmm.
I have some extra Christmas candy. Should I send it to him?
I don't know
Here.
if that'll make him any sweeter or not.
This is coming to you, Stefan. Okay.
No,
Uh,
go ahead, Carrie. Sorry.
I want to say that if people have not watched the Ravens in the last few weeks, if you haven't taken time to watch them play, you are missing out on a very fun game, some fun games to watch. And as our sweet friend Phil has told me, the Ravens have entered God mode. Like they have broke the script, they broke the matrix, and they are in the God realm of playing football.
So
I can't disagree with that.
I will say this. Lamar is playing lights out, right? No doubt. He's playing the flashes of Lamar that we've seen in past seasons, which is awesome. Still going with my man Christian for the MVP because he's been doing it all season long.
Right.
And he's got the running back record for most touchdowns in a row. So I think he's the MVP.
Can agree with that. We're going to need to move on so we won't keep our audience. I mean, they are enamored enough with us, they'll stay. However, we probably want to
We are bodies and we know football.
I think we have to give kudos to the Steelers beating Seattle because this
Yes. And
That
Seattle.
was a surprise for me. That was a big surprise.
surprise in Seattle, but
That's
it
a
also
surprise.
gives Pittsburgh the winning season, guarantees them a winning season again. So Tomlin has had winning seasons for how many years, whether you like him or not.
No, I love Tomlin. I just can't root
I
for
really have a lot of
Pittsburgh.
respect for Tomlin.
Yeah, I have respect for Tomlin. I just can't root for them. Another little interesting thought, not that it would be high on you all. When Andy Reid came to the Chiefs, we had won 7 division titles. That's all. 7. Everybody else had 15.
Mhm.
We now lead our division with 16 wins, 16 titles, and everybody else still has just 15. That's what kind of impact Andy Reid has done to the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this: everybody keeps trying to blame old Miss Taylor. I really think it has to do with Bimini not being there anymore. With some of the stuff. That's just me, but everybody knows how impactful Eric Bimini is. And
I
yet the
will-
Chiefs
I-
are pulling it off.
Listen, yes, I'm really into giving Nagy head custodian.
I know.
I think he'd be great at that.
What about equipment boy?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of
You may struggle.
responsibility. Head custodian. Let's just stick to something that go in and do your cleanup. I don't want to rely on you to get us somewhere. We'll let you do cleanup. But let's move into the College Bowl because we've had some interesting things come about, and all of the surrounding of FSU deserved to be in. They got screwed, and 2 other teams were ushered in, but they were ushered out yesterday as well.
So I was happy that Alabama got ushered out because they didn't need to be in there anyway. FSU had an undefeated team, undefeated. You and I disagree on this, but remember, FSU lost 20 of their players through either NIL or the draft, or they may not have announced. But when you're a senior and you're a football player, you're not playing in a bowl game. Why? Because you're going to be declaring for the draft, but you still want to be there for your boys, right? So when you lose 20 of your players that got you that undefeated record, including the ACC championship, and their coach did it within 4 years of taking over. He's entering his 5th year. And Candy can speak on FSU a lot more than I can. But I mean, FSU got screwed, and it's all because the NCAA wanted Alabama in there.
But Georgia had the same amount of missing, like it was 27 and 27. So I really don't feel like that's a thing. I think the biggest problem is the portal is opened. It's not open until January 1st.
I agree with you. I think the portal should open after the bowl games, not on December 4th. That's BS.
The way I look at this, and this is what I was trying to I was saying the other night, is when things are not sure, you can't be positive about an outcome. When you can't be reliant on this, and I'm talking about college is designed to help kids enter the workforce and be successful, right? I mean, isn't that we can say that, right? These gentlemen have chosen to be football players as a profession. That's great. They have the talent. I'm impressed. When it gets hard, or when something doesn't go your way, how many times in the real world do we get to say, yeah, I'm just going to set this out?
Well, I mean, it's not even that. When you lose 20 of your players, it's going to impact the morality. And
Georgia lost his
morale.
So wait,
go ahead, Candy.
Wait, let's be real. So Georgia has been on top for many more years. So
yes.
When you talk about them losing 27 players compared to FSU's 27 players that they lost, they have more depth behind them because of their program. Because their program has been on top for so long, FSU hasn't been up there that long. So I think the depth of players that the people that FSU lost, whatever they decided, whether it was their choice, whether they did the transfer portal or they're declaring for the draft, it impacts them more because they don't have quite the talent behind those first line, or the first line of defense, or the first starters. Their second and third strings aren't as talented because, let's face it, Georgia has been up on top. They went for the college championships last year. So they have their number ones. Their number twos, hey, there's a chance we're going to be in the college football playoffs this next year. Even if I sit, I'm okay with that because I'd rather say I'm a champion than go to a team that won't even vie for the championship. So I think college, here's my 2 cents. College is meant for college. We decided then now we have these football players that we're going to pay them scholarships for going to college and studying. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do, right? Not everybody gets into the NFL. So yes, it's a stepping stone to get there. But we've put these certain teams on such high pedestals like the Alabamas. I don't care if you like them or dislike them. If you are a young football player that is going to go in to play college, you want to play for the top echelon schools. And let's face it, Alabama's been up there for a long time. So you want to play for an Alabama.
Yeah.
You want to talk to the long historied colleges because you want more of a chance to get to the NFL. And what teams are people looking at that'll do that for them?
Well, I think I even shared with us previously is if you looked at all of the bowl games or the championship games across all of the conferences, the SEC was 3 to 4 times higher than the next one up. So the SEC draws major money. Mm-hmm. So yes, I'm pretty sure there is some bias there, but and I do not like Alabama. I'm not a Georgia fan. I don't care about those teams because they've always been at the top. So I'm always going to go for the underdog. Mm-hmm. Where I look at it, and maybe it's because I'm looking at the loyalty and things like that. When you say, nah, I'm good, I'm not going to play in that bowl game, I understand you protecting yourself. I get that. But we're not playing a self game. We're not playing a solo game. We're playing a team game. So you're saying that your individual self is bigger than the team that you've chose to play for and have played the season for. That's where I'm at. Because if you translate that into the workforce, you've got and I see it all the time. You've got people that are not willing to do what it takes to get there. It's not fun. You've got to put, all 3 of us have jobs that sometimes you have to make and be the one that gets the heat blown at you because you have to do what's right, not what's cool or not what is comfortable. So to me, it shows integrity. But I may be seeing it wrong, but that's how I see it. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to protect, make sure I can make it to I have a chance and I'm not injured. And I get that. But we watched Bo Nix play 4 quarters, not 4 complete quarters, because he left out in the middle of the fourth. But he wanted to go out with his team on a winning note. So the only way he could make sure he did that was he played the game. Well, and he's got high draft capital. So
he wasn't told that even though he had an undefeated record, that there was no way he was playing the national championship. 3 out of 4 of the teams that made it to the playoffs are SEC schools.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
I mean, and I'm so sick of the narrative that SEC is the only football school system.
Well, why do you think Missouri left the Big 12 and went to the SEC?
Yeah,
why
Missouri is there.
Yeah. So Missouri's there. That's why you're seeing Nebraska and Oklahoma join. That's why, because the SEC does carry that weight. And by golly, because we're in the SEC, we have a better football program because they're playing in the SEC. So yes, Candy, you are 100% correct that it has the weight of which conference you played in, and that draws the talent. You are correct. And I'm not dismissing that at all. And I don't think it should be 4 SEC teams that go to the Final Four. I don't think that. I think that's just not. I don't even think. I think it needs to be a representative of all. More diverse representation. I'm just looking at it. Okay, I rely on my neighbor here. The guy that stood next to me. for 10 games and he's going to say no thanks and just bow out on me? What am I supposed to do? That's kind of where I'm looking at it. It's like,
So,
if I
and
take the trenches with you,
I see where you're coming from, but I understand where these guys are coming from too. Because think about it, all the players that even like if you're not in a national championship like playoff setting or being told you're not going to, when you have the opportunity to make possibly generational wealth and you grew up without a lot of dinero, because I grew up without a lot of money, like, and there are people who have a lot less than me, you're going to protect yourself and you're going to protect your family. And I get both sides of that coin because, like, look at Drake May. He was offered $10 million to change schools. He turned it down. Now he's in the position to be able to turn that down. But how much was Riley? Is it Riley Fields for the Duke quarterback who is transferring to Notre Dame? I mean,
didn't we read that or hear that Arch Manning is going to make more money than Brock Purdy? Like,
he
a
does already.
college football is going to make more than the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers in the NFL.
Who has the number 1 seed?
Exactly. Like, something's wrong with this.
good job, C-Mac. Oh, haha, Devo, you got schooled. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry.
Maybe we should bring this back up at another time as well. And I'm like, because I think that we all have valid points on this. And
Yeah.
I do want nothing but success for people. I'm just looking at it as, hey, listen, we fought side by side, but I'm getting here and I'm like, nah, I'm no longer a team. It's me. It's only me. That's where I'm like, that feels weird.
It's just
But
say the
also,
football
Carrie,
too. That's not always pretty.
Carrie, think about it from this point of standpoint, though, too. The college football playoffs told them, we're not taking you because the quarterback that led you for most of the season that got injured isn't there. So you guys are now not worthy to be in there. That was part of their logic.
And their backup quarterback won the ACC championship.
But
and
here's
3 or 4 games before that.
Here's me and my competitiveness, and this is where it gets me in trouble, and I know it. You tell me I'm not going to do something, by golly, I'm going to show up and prove to you that I am. 3 points in a football game does not show you that I'm going to prove you wrong. I guess that's where I'm looking at it. It's like, you say you deserve to be there. You say that you got crapped on. Then show up and prove that you deserve, not...
Well, no,
and part of it, I understand. It's all the whole... But if you are going to stand on the fact that we deserve to be there, then show up and prove that you did. And make them eat the crow and make them eat that humble pie. But that's who I am. And you tell me I can't do it. By golly, I'm going to show you I can't. Not only can I do it, but I'll do it very well.
But here's the thing: you've got Caleb Williamson, whatever his last name is, from Stanford, who's supposed to be the number 1, like either he or Drake are going to be the number 1 draft pick, right? And quarterbacks, they've both announced. Nobody's that heated that they didn't play in their bowl games because they both announced that they're going into the draft. And
I think, and that's where I actually, it doesn't matter. FSU is the one that highlights it for everybody. But that's where I have a problem with saying, nah, I'm declaring for the draft, so therefore I'm not going to play in the bowl game. I think that's just, but that's not the mentality I have as a competitor. And I understand that it's payment. I get all of that. But I'm just thinking, how can you all of a sudden go, man, these are my brothers. I'm going to fight to the death with them. And they're like, not to the death. I'm going to step out here on, because they've got a sale over here.
The one other thing I will say, and because kind of trying to reel us kind of in and stuff too, though, is as much as FSU and I wanted them to be in there, they weren't. But look at the games that were played for those 2 football games. They were both close. One went into overtime. The other one was, a 6-point game at the end? Like, those teams, they were good, pretty evenly matched. And I'm not saying FSU wouldn't have been. I don't know. We'll never know at this point. I mean, yes, did they lay an egg in the bowl game that they were in? Yes, of course. But had things been different, what would have been the difference?
I mean,
Would there-
the Chiefs laid a bowl, an egg in the second Super Bowl that we went to just recently. So yes, it happens. It just that's what I'm saying. But again, I didn't even make excuses for that either. So
And I just think like we always have to remember the business side too, because there's so many other schools that went to bowl games that lost the vast majority of their starting lineup.
and still played though.
Well,
I
remember us being on the field. So
It's-
technically they still played.
Yeah, they still
But
played.
Andy did make that good point because remember, their coach has only been there for 4 seasons. This was his 4th season. He's going to his 5th. So he took them from nothing to undefeated.
Absolutely, and
So,
that's where.
And I feel bad for the coach the most right now. I
His
hate
quit
that
on
the
him.
transfer portal opens on December 4th. It doesn't
His
need
team
to open.
quit on him. His team quit on him. That's how I.
But that's
as-
what you're
as-
supposed to do, because think of how many of those guys that have been there with him for 4 years, they've maxed out their eligibility. They have to enter the draft.
I get it. I get it.
And I mean, I
But I don't like that we're coming up with all these reasons. Those men quit on their coach. Their coach took them to this level and they quit on their coach. I get the reason why. But what I'm saying is, what are we letting those kids do? Because we let them to quit on this thing, and then when something else gets harder, doesn't go their way, and they're past football, what are they going to do?
Right.
They got to quit before.
Had they played the game and had they blown Georgia out, how would they feel?
Like they proved a point. I mean, that's what I would. That would be like, oh, look at us. You said we didn't belong there. Look what we just did. We took down Georgia.
Right. And then we should have been in the college playoff because we took down Georgia. But then they wouldn't have been in the college football playoffs because they weren't there. They didn't put them
But
there.
you still got to put, you would put egg on the face of the committee as opposed to egg on your face for not playing in the bowl. That's how I'm looking at it. But I'm just one person.
Oh no, I get it. I get your points, and I still this is one thing that we all agree on. The transfer portal should not start until after the bowl season.
Exactly.
Why are they opening it? That is completely confusing to me. Why do you open before the bowl season? Because not a single person is going to get to go play in any bowl if they get picked up out of the portal. And the people that they're hoping to be picked up by a lot of them are focused. Those teams are already focused in on just getting through their bowl, let alone trying to look at who's in the portal. That's just noise at this point, I would think.
Valid point, Sam. I don't know if you can see, but he said lots of these bold teams have also lost.
Yeah, I see that.
You can, okay.
Yeah, that's a valid point, Samuel, and I appreciate that. I just the optics are bad. If you're going to say we deserve to be in the bowl, and then your team quits on you, and then you throw a goose egg up, I don't think that you got brushed over. I think that you have taken this and acting like a spoiled 2-year-old that's throwing a tantrum. That's what the optics are for me. But I have no buy into this. I don't like Florida. I don't like Florida State. I never have since when I was back younger. So it just kind of it's just a same. I don't like any of the Southern teams. I'll be really honest. There's not any of those over there in the Southeast that I like, and that's okay. Because I'm a Midwest farm girl.
Words after the show.
Yeah, I'm a Midwest farm girl. I mean, I like those corn-fed football players, and I always have. Now I don't like Nebraska, and that's just because it's Nebraska. But
I thought it was because of Matt Rule. Oh wait, that's me.
I couldn't agree that Nebraska. I mean, it was a marriage made in heaven. We'll call it heaven. But let's see. Jen, I'm going to throw it to you and bring us our happy story because we have held our people hostage again.
So I cannot find the actual article, and I've been looking all day. But I read a couple of weeks ago that Gabby. Oh wait, did I just find it? Yes. Gabby Douglas, Simone Biles, and Sansa Lee will be the dream team for this year, headlining the dream team for USA Gymnastics. Gabby is coming back after what, an 8-year hiatus? That's amazing.
I
Simone,
think that's awesome.
props to you, girl, for getting the help. Don't tune out all those haters trying to hate on your man, because you know what? We all misspeak at times. Just saying, I do it all the time. Ask my girls. They'll tell you. But like, that's awesome. I'm so excited to see our USA Olympic gymnastics team headlining again. We'll be bringing home the medals. Putin doesn't have too much time to pay attention to Russian gymnastics right now. He's kind of an imbecile and has a war going on that he shouldn't have started. So, you know.
So many things there. So many things.
I know. Sorry, I had to toss a little politics in there. But
Well,
I think,
that's why I put. Did you see? I went like that. So many things, and then took a drink. Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
reason.
what's in the bottle? I thought it was water. Is it another clear liquid?
It's water. I mean, if Ozarka decided to bottle something that was clear, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to pull it out of the.
No, Carrie, I forgot. Will you be with us next week or no?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's pick up this NIL conversation, because this is always a hot topic again next week, because you're right. And we love to chat, but I also know Candy has another show or two to do. So I'm kind of scared of her husband. I don't want to get you chastised on Facebook Messenger.
He
Oh,
would
it's all
drink.
good,
He
it's all
would take
good.
candy from us, and then would that be then our fighting words? And I don't know if Scott has it in it to fight 3 women over taking candy away from us or not.
I know, right?
I know. But we could talk about this topic for a long time.
Oh,
really
we definitely
think. So
can.
we need to do a
Absolutely.
part 2. And we need to bring
Also-
Megan in on this, because I'd be interested in some of her, comments too about
Yeah.
NIL and the portal transfer and stuff. So it's all
Yeah.
good.
It is. And I'll just say this. At the end of the day, I think the playoff teams should be those with the undefeated record. I don't care if you're SEC, Big 12, ACC, whatever. Did Carolina deserve to be in there? Nope.
I think strength of schedule and your perfect record. So I say that because we watch, and when they do the March Madness, there's some people that get in there with perfect seasons with strength of schedule of playing a local high school, junior high team, Pee Wee leagues, and I'm being sarcastic, but I think strength of schedule has to weigh in there, because they can stack a schedule.
But let's face it, next year there's going to be 12 playoff teams, so there's going to be more of these on the border, on the cusp. Like right now, it's 4 teams, and it was only 4 teams, so they had to try and figure it out. So I think it'll be a little more even. Yes, the team that was 13th will be like, "Oh, I missed out," but you have more representation. Just like you said, March Madness, they take a pool from how many different,
Right.
So. And it
Well,
makes their conference championship mean something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the issue with strength of schedule. When you're playing an opposing team, when you're playing Auburn, Bama, Georgia, Stanford, Carolina, depending on the year, Clemson, you're going to always step up your game. Always
exactly.
step up your game. That's why I kind of hate them saying strength of schedule, because if you're that team, if you're FSU, if you're Georgia, if you're Bama, your opponent is going to be stepping up to you and playing balls to the wall. Like NC State kind of sucks, right? But this season they did a little bit better. But every single time they play Carolina or Duke, they step up their game, and that's in football and basketball. Because NC State,
Isn't that what you're wanting, though?
Huh?
Isn't that what you're wanting? Is the team to step up? I don't. The only thing I'm saying is you can't have like the Pac-12 that has. I mean, it's going to be defunct. So they have like 3. They have 3 schools left. You can't play JUCOs and Division II teams, or you can't. And I'm exaggerating. Please understand this, and I know I am. So don't at me or whatever. But when you're playing Missouri State and you get a win, you deserve that. I mean, Missouri State, while they are getting better, the Bears in Springfield, we're not a national team.
Right.
So someone that uses us as one of their wins, as opposed to taking on a powerhouse part of, Washington, Oregon, wherever whatever it is. I think that when you use the smaller schools or the less known schools as part of your winning schedule, that doesn't have as much weight as when you have, you've gone again, and FSU did have a great season. There's nothing wrong. I mean, no shame in that game. I feel though that you can pack your schedule, and they have done in the past. I don't know. SEC is going to be harder to do that since they're now expanded and they have so many teams in there. But we've watched them pad schedules. So that's where, you have to be careful about saying undefeated teams, because we're going to see people that will pad those schedules so they'll have an undefeated season.
Yeah, but here's the thing, the NCAA has to approve all the schedules. And if they see the padding, they're going to put a condition on that. In theory.
Okay, thank you.
In theory. Because we all know the NCAA's dirty.
Because I know that Missouri State takes those texts to build. Missouri State takes those losses and uses the money that they're paid. I mean, Oklahoma State paid them significantly to come to them and play their opening game there.
Hey, Candy, do you remember when Michigan paid a little school out of North Carolina, Appalachian, to come up there and play? They paid them like $10 million for a shoe-in one. Mm-hmm. Refresh my memory, what happened?
They got crushed.
Yeah, so, I mean, that. Yes,
it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen.
It does.
But that's what I love it. I love that about that. All right, guys, hit us up. Like, message any one of us. We love you guys. Candy really has to jump. She has to get on her next show, but we want her to eat her dinner first.
Happy New Year to all of our friends and followers, and we look forward to having more chit and chats with you as the year goes on.
And this conversation will occur next week, 7 days from now. Talk to y'all later.
Thanks, everyone. We miss you, Megan.
Yes, we do, Megan.